Green Bay is a small town, only 100,000 people. Those 100,000 people may be different in many ways, but there's one thing that brings them all together: the Green Bay Packers. In Tiletown, the blue-collar city only knows hard work, tailgating, championships, but more importantly, they know family. We have a saying in this town: faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers are all that you need. Matt and I grew up in Green Bay. You could say that we are Green Bay, or even better, the voices of Green Bay. We bring a local field Packer fandom to a worldwide audience. Friendship, family, and football. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Freezer Podcast. We are back! This is the Freezer Podcast, where we bring you a local field Packer fandom to a worldwide audience. I'm Sanjay.
And I'm Matt.
And we have the four-time Pro Bowler. We have the all-time leading rusher of the Green Bay Packers. We have a first-team All-Big 12 here. We have the NFC Offensive Player of the Year. We have a second-team All-Pro. We have, there's so much more to keep going on. We have a USA Today High School All-American right here. We have Ahman Green, formerly of the Green Bay Packers. You're truly number 30 with us today.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
I appreciate this.
Hold up. That had to be the best intro of any presentation, banquet, or I've been recently in the last 5 years. So
absolutely,
hey,
that's awesome.
Give me that.
Hey, appreciate it.
Nice.
Yeah, we had the whole list. Yeah, when we were thinking, we have to do them justice, right?
Yeah, you did your homework.
Gotta shout it out.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll keep it DC the rest of the night, with Justice and the Justice League.
So,
I'm wearing my Gotham shirt.
I'm all, it's multiverse, okay?
Right, exactly. Yeah, we got love for everything because you know what, Marvel knows how to do it right in the movie business. So.
Yes, I agree. Even though I'm DC, I agree. I had this conversation 10 times in the last year and a half.
So speaking of, I'm sure you are watching the movies and things, but what else are you doing these days? What kind of what's in the life of a
busy man?
Right now?
Where do I begin? Oh man. Okay, I'll start with video game industry. So I'm in the video game industry now, and I've been doing networking for the past 4 or 5 years, and I finally landed on a job working with a network called ESTV. It's based out of Los Angeles, California, and ESTV stands for Esports Television.
Okay.
So
absolutely.
Just in a nutshell, it's ESPN, but for
esports.
For esports, for video games, for the culture, which is comic books, which is cosplayers and all of that. And so I had E3 last week. So I was out there.
Ooh, that's awesome. I always wanted to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a really amazing
conference. If you read comic books, if you play video, if you do anything of that sort, you need to go to E3, just like you need to go to Comic-Con San Diego eventually.
That's another one.
So it was EA playing that. So network, saw some new games.
You must feel like a small fish in that big pond when you go there, right? Because in the sports world, people know at least who you might be, at least in the football world. But then you go into like E3, it's like, who's this guy? He's just another guy, right?
I can roll incognito.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good thing.
That must be a good thing, right?
And it is. I'm just sitting there like, watching the release of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Tom Clancy's new game.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like similar to Wildlands.
I just picked it up, by the way.
Yeah.
Steam sale.
I played 15 minutes of it.
Yes, it's fun. So they released that, and then Cyberpunk 2077. We had Keanu Reeves. He showed up.
Yeah, I was gonna say when he came on at least from the
video,
stole
the show, man.
They went nuts. They went absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was really good that they had John Wick 3 that just kind of just came out of movie theater, so everybody was already hyped up on that for all the 208 kills that he had in that movie. So.
Someone totaled it up. 200 rounds of bullets. Yeah. Bullet shells.
Jeez.
I'm doing my homework on that. So I'm doing that. So I'm director of business development with ESTV and commentary. So I'm also in front of the camera as well. So I'm in a very comfortable position right now.
So are you doing some Madden stuff?
Yes.
Stuff with Madden, yeah.
So Saturday, I left E3 on Friday morning to fly to Connecticut, Foxwood Resort Casino in Connecticut, to do a Madden tournament Saturday, which was with Compete Forever. They're on Twitch. They have a Twitch channel, /Compete Forever. Okay. And it was the Madden Summer Series. Okay. And it was myself and Larry Ridley. And if you know him, if you know that name, he's was on Madden 2015 and 16, like
Yep.
the halftime voice.
Halftime
but
voice,
nobody,
yeah.
Nobody watches halftime.
No, yeah.
I tell them,
They always like simulate
you
real
hit
quick.
or you hit the A button because
Yeah,
you want to
they-
get to the second half kickoff
Absolutely.
because you just gave up a touchdown.
Because I'm losing, and I gotta try to get it back.
Yeah.
or you just you about to double down because you already scored before half, and now you about to try
trying
to
to
score
double up,
again.
right? Yep,
Absolutely.
exactly.
So with Larry, and I always tease him on that because he commentaries on it. He does play by play. I do the color. He doesn't play Madden.
Oh,
So
really?
I give him the blues. And just so Larry, I know he got one of his kids probably on Facebook right now. Now he knows.
Larry,
He
pick the
follows
sticks up,
me.
Larry.
I'm always messing with him about that. But no, he's a great guy, great teammate. When we're on air together, we've been working together for 2.5 years now.
Okay.
That same tournament that Kevin Malmuzet runs for Compete Forever. And so yeah, that's what in the Madden world that I do. And so going to E3 and EA Play last week, I had the opportunity to play the beta for Madden 20.
And
And
verdict?
right now, verdict for me is thumbs up.
Okay.
Because just the eye candy, it looks good.
Looks
the graphics,
good.
Of course.
they
They never
improved
get-
it.
they never do
Refreshed
anything
the
wrong in
engine,
that,
didn't they?
yeah.
They made the engine
Yes,
a little bit better.
yeah.
Okay.
So the graphics look completely different from Madden 19 and 18. The gameplay is still obviously as they had it in work in progress.
Sure.
Working to get on, make the accessibility, hitting the button and going efficiently through
Sure.
the adjustments.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
you-
Oh, yeah, that's
if
a
you
big-
play Madden now, it's like watching the guys play. They
Yeah,
gotta do
absolutely. You can
zone.
check down, do all your
Yeah, you could
absolute
check down
reads,
routes,
everything, right?
hot routes. You could adjust your
It's got a little
coverage.
too advanced for my stage when I used to be just like,
Yeah, but
all
see-
right. Like when they had the cone feature, and I was like, oh my god, I need to like make sure I look at my receiver when I'm throwing it to him. I
Yes.
felt like that was an upgrade.
Yeah,
And
see,
now
I'm
it's
watching
like,
That was
football.
passing vision or
Pass
something.
Yeah,
vision,
the
right,
cone
for the
vision.
Culpepper, I think it was on that
Yeah.
cover. So
Well, if you played with Brett Favre, his cone was the entire
absolutely.
screen.
Oh yeah, he
so-
could throw it anywhere, as he would say.
didn't
in
have
the
to worry
huddle.
about anything.
I could throw it. I could get it in there.
Do whatever I
Ron.
want.
That's triple coverage, bro.
Yeah,
I
but
was like,
I'm Brett Favre.
if it's 5 D tackles trying to come at me, I'm going to the ground. Or I'm gonna run out of bounds, or I'm gonna hit one. I can't
Try
try
to give you another second or two.
Right, I can't try to think I'm gonna run over
You know, if
5
there's
D tackles.
if there's one thing I have to say though, I really hope, because Matt and I play a lot of 2K, and I feel like they have the perfect setting for like a franchise or creative player. Like I feel like they've gotten it right for like the last like 5 years, and I really just wish like Madden has tried it. They really have, but then
They're
it
getting
feels
there.
like they're just so close, but they're not there yet. And I really hope maybe someday they'll get there. But
Well,
anyway,
sounds like
so-
they're up to something
I was
with
gonna
this
say,
20.
we got
So
the
Yeah.
leaking news over here. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
okay.
so they got a good start.
awesome.
And then what else did I play? I played this game called Wreckage or something like that. It was
Okay.
a car demolition
Okay.
game where you basically going around. The intent of the game, not only to win the race, is actually beat up the cars around you too.
Okay.
It was fun.
That's interesting.
play
I like
that.
that.
And they had, Nintendo had their releases of like the Yoshi game coming out.
Aren't they doing a new Zelda?
Yeah,
Yep.
they are doing
Yeah, it was a
Zelda.
new
Yeah,
Zelda
they have the
there.
sequel to Breath of the Wild.
And then obviously with Microsoft, they had between Gears 5
Yeah.
announcement, Halo 6 Infinite, but that's not till next summer, which is like, what?
I know you're
Hold
watching
up,
that because
I-
I've seen you on Twitch
I was
streaming
like-
some Halo.
Yes, I'm like, wait a minute, you talking about a game that you're not releasing for a whole nother year?
Yeah,
What's
that's a
wrong
little
with
too
you?
much of a tease.
That's
like,
way too much of a tease,
You
dude.
end up like forgetting what's happening. But
Floated early, keep it on the mind.
Yeah,
Yes.
but no, good. But met with some people out there, and it was fun. So,
awesome.
That's exciting, man.
that's
So
definitely fun.
let's kind of take a rewind back to your time. And I mean, it's not even a rewind because you still obviously live here in this city.
Yes.
But what in your time as a player in Green Bay, because that's a a different time when you're all eyes are on you. It's at least in the retired life. People would be like, oh, that's Ahman. But when you're playing, they're like, oh, that's Ahman, and we need to go try to get an autograph, get a handshake, something.
Right.
So like. Originally, you're traded, right? You're traded
Yep.
from Seattle. You come to a smaller city like Green Bay. What was that whole mindset? I mean, you played in Nebraska, so that's a small town, obviously.
Right.
But what was it like going from Seattle to Green Bay?
Like, no.
I always think
But
that
it
when
wasn't for
everyone gets
it wasn't for the obvious reasons. It wasn't
Okay,
for being Midwest and bad weather. No, it wasn't for those reasons. It was the reason was, and we just got finished talking about video games, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the neighborhood, I ended up my second year. I bought a house because I was overpaying rent at an apartment. My roommate teammate got cut.
Oh,
So
okay.
he
Left you with the rent.
Right. So I'm taking all the rent now as a rookie, which is good. I'm playing NFL, so rent wasn't too. It wasn't
right.
like, oh my God.
Right.
But still, it was like, come on, man.
sure.
Yeah.
But then obviously, once I started doing research on living area and where I live and
Yeah.
like what rent was to mortgage, I'm like, I need to buy a house.
Right.
And so I did. Second year, so started. I think I bought it in January, moved in later that month, and I found out right away. Most of my neighbors worked for Microsoft.
Really?
And this is before the original Xbox came
Okay,
out.
sure.
So I'm always walking my dog out. My dog was named Snoop Dogg, by the way.
Good name.
Love it,
Good name.
love it.
Keep it
And I'm
simple.
walking Snoop, and and then like a week or two walking my dog, they're Seahawks fans, so they recognize me. Oh, you that rookie or the second year guy from Nebraska? You doing a good job, and get to know them, and they start telling me about the Xbox. They're like,
Oh.
oh, we got this new thing we're working on.
Insider,
Oh,
insider
Right,
information.
and I'm like, we're gonna change the Xbox or
The landscape of the
the
Xbox,
console
right? Yeah.
platform. We're gonna change it forever. I'm like, can't wait.
Yeah.
Trade it. I'm like,
I lost all
Man,
that
I had the
intel.
hookup here.
I'm like,
playing
dude. That's
football, and
that's
was
why
gonna
I
get
was
that.
like, no.
Oh my God! So there you
I
go,
was like-
folks. If you ever want to know the true reason, you'll never find it on NFL films. You'll find it at the Freezer Podcast.
Right.
You'll find out that it was based on an Xbox.
I was
and
so
his
disappointed.
in.
I was hurt. But in terms of the football aspect, I was like, wait a minute. These dudes, they was just at the Super Bowl.
Right.
I actually watched that Super Bowl. They lost to Denver
The
Broncos.
Denver Broncos, right?
Still
and
a
then
fresh wound.
Right, and then they won the year before that, though,
Right.
in New Orleans against New England. So I'm like, this is still a good team.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. And I was like, okay, I got Brett. He's my quarterback. I'm going to be backing up Dorsey. He's the starter.
Yep.
I don't mind backing him up, no problem. And we still got all the guys on defense, Gilbert Brown, Santana Dotson, Leroy Butler, them guys.
The wrecking crew, right there.
I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we got a pretty decent squad here.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited.
You're coming into a good situation,
Yeah,
obviously.
very good. It's just getting introduced to Green Bay, and which is, like you already mentioned, I lived it being in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right.
Husker fans are only difference between Husker and Packer fans is the team colors they
Team
wear.
color,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, of
It-
course.
They are crazy.
They talk
just
about
like
it being-
Packer
When
fans.
that's all
Like
you have
college
in your
atmosphere.
state, it's kind of like it's the same thing here. You're bled into it, and that's all you know, and it's just going to be red and white all over your town, and
Yep.
same thing here in green and yellow. So,
Well, no, it's Bucks, it's Brewers, it's
Yeah, now it
Badgers,
is. Yeah,
and
now it
nobody
is.
else. At the end of the day, it's Packers.
Yeah,
There's other-
absolutely. It
There's
is.
other team colors. Let's be real, because I figured it out with. I'm like, wait a minute. There's Badgers. There's pretty good Badger
they're
teams,
pretty loyal
football
to the Badgers here.
and basketball teams that come through there. The Brewers have some good seasons.
Yep.
The Bucks, I know, was at 0-2 before this year.
I was gonna say you had the Ray Allen days, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Ray
back
Allen,
when-
Michael Redd.
Yep.
When I
absolutely.
first
you had
got
some
here.
good times.
The big
So,
three.
Playoff, they went to playoffs.
They
I was
did.
like, but at the end of the day, I knew right away. I was like, no, it's all day
You're,
Packers.
you're
Yeah.
where
if
it's
you're,
at.
down,
You're
if
the-
you're down in Baraboo,
There's a hierarchy.
if you're up in Winter, Wisconsin,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's green and gold.
It's green
It's
and
green
gold
and
all
gold.
day.
Absolutely.
all day.
So that's a really interesting thing because you're traded. You have two different head coaches. You had Mike Sherman, you had Mike McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a big difference, and was there a difference in philosophy, difference in coaching, difference in personal connections with the two?
I say yes, there definitely was differences, and it was early. Like for Mike Sherman, early when he first got here, he had that personal connection. That's what made us good. That's what made us. I say majority of the guys, not everybody, because you can't have. I don't think you have 100% of the players buy in as a head coach,
Right.
Sure.
Especially at this level.
Yeah.
College maybe, high school for sure.
Yeah.
Because the kids are just loving the game and growing into
very impressionable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so pros is different. You're a grown man. You got
Kids and-
kids,
yeah,
and you worry about
family.
college fund.
Yep.
Why did I buy that crazy car for that price? You got guys thinking about that. It was like, man, you did it. You shouldn't
Yeah.
even thought about it. But anyway, yeah. So he came in, got the buy-in of us, and we're taking over the Super Bowl teams, and it was for me a good experience. It was funny. I was always the butt of everybody's jokes. I was the what does they call it? I was the teacher's pet.
Okay.
Since I was traded where he coached, I became his son. I was like, what?
What?
I barely talk. I mean, I talk now. It's my job. I talk a lot. I'll talk
Right.
this whole show, and
That's why we have
I'll
here.
take
Yeah,
over.
absolutely. We don't need to
I'll
talk.
take
Take
over.
it over, man.
I was like, but at that time, I was just about football, playing my video games, and guys were just getting to know me. But they saw that right away. Like when I would mess up, he wouldn't say much. And I didn't notice it. I wasn't paying attention to it. And they were, of course, teammates. How friends
sure,
are.
of course.
They become friends, too. They were like, dude, Ahman he fumbled the ball, and then he missed the block. He ain't say nothing to him. I sneeze wrong. And he giving
over
me
here.
he's giving me the blues. I'm like, I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't
right?
know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was
Sorry.
that, but, we had good, off of that, good teams that we had from 2000,
teams.
from 2005.
Sure.
And then 05 season, we know in terms of myself included, Hurt, I think Robert, Bubba, a whole lot
Yeah,
of
the
guys.
whole thing, yeah.
But it was a fun experience. I say some things that a lot of people don't know. Or one thing, You remember the arm things I wore?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's one of our questions.
Yeah.
Our biggest question is how did you overcome the fumbles? Like, because that was a big thing in Green Bay. Well, how will Ahman Green overcome these fumbles?
Well, for one, as a running back, it's going to happen. You know that.
It's inevitable.
From the time you're in Little League, you know that you're going to fumble the ball. Not that you're going to fumble it all the time, but it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Just like a quarterback,
Sure. You're gonna throw a pick.
You're going to throw a pick.
You played with one that threw a bunch.
True. When you set the record for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's special. So I actually wore those though more to appease Coach Sherman.
Okay.
He was more worried about it than I was. But as a kid, to mom and dad, didn't want them to worry. I'm like, all right, I'll wear them just to get him off my back.
Right. Yeah.
Because if
absolutely.
I didn't wear them, he would. Like practice was okay. If I didn't wear them in practice, he was cool.
Okay.
But when it came to
Game time.
kickoff,
Yeah.
if I didn't have them
Better
on,
have those things
he would
on.
almost have an aneurysm. Get Ahman, and he was saying he was from memory, he's from Boston, so he would say Ahman. Get Ahman his pads. Get him his arm pads. Ahman, get him on. I'm like,
Oh, did I forget those? Jeez.
I'm like, Coach, I don't need them. No, you gotta put them on. It's raining today. I'm like, oh God.
Would they get slick though?
I thought so.
That's what I was
The black ones, I had
Yeah,
black ones too.
right.
They
That's the one
got
I vividly remembered.
They
Yeah.
got slick.
Like an ice cube
And then
did,
you went
yeah.
to the white ones, and then everything was just gravy there.
Yeah, and so that was more him than me.
Okay.
But then I say off of that too. So it got my old coach Holmgren, who I had for 1 year in
Yeah,
Seattle.
Yeah,
you
you had
drafted
him
there when he was there?
No, that was
Or
my
he
second
came in?
year.
Okay.
He came in.
Second, okay. Yeah.
So it was funny. So the 03 season, I was wearing the white ones with the green bar, white here, green bar on the inside. So we were having a good year that year, offensively, rushing the ball. Everybody knows that's our best rushing year as a
You dominated that year.
organization. And so in pregame, like he came up to me, he congratulated me on having a good year, and I'm glad to see where your career is going because I was in his doghouse when I got traded.
Right.
So it was like, okay, thanks. But I'm in game mode. And I'm like, okay, coach. But I kind of shake his hand, and I'm like getting in. I'm not even I'm focused on winning the game, playing hard. But I found out, I think it was after the game, one of our trainers overheard him ask one of the referees. So I'm not sure how. This is pretty good credibility where it came from, the source. So one of my trainers, he's still there, by the way. He's there, still working for the Packers. Overheard Holmgren asking the referees, "I want you to check number 30's sleeves, make sure it's now stick them on him, because he's all of a sudden he doesn't fumble the ball anymore." And he told me that at the end of the game, so that made the win even more better. I was
Absolutely.
like, got you. Man, you think I'm cheating? Like, you think I'm cheating? No, I held on to the ball.
Right, absolutely.
I've learned something since that last season around
Right.
you.
I was like, what?
Nah, come on now.
So,
Hey.
with that being said, you were in the huddle with Brett. That's we all see it on the NFL films. We see it in his Hall of Fame speech. He's obviously the jokester, right?
Yeah, he's a
I'm like,
goofball.
you got to have some stuff that's in the huddle.
Goofball.
What was the funniest things he ever said in that huddle?
Oh, he said stuff with his mouth on his face and his butt. I always say that.
I heard he
He fart.
Oh my god.
He made good jokes though.
Okay.
Was it ever weird though when you guys were playing and did it help kind of with
I
the
liked
mood?
it.
Okay,
It didn't bother me.
Are super serious, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right.
It's like this guy's out here clowning around and trying to win a game.
And the guys knew him, once I got here, they still knew him longer than I did, so they were used to it. They'd be like, oh, this is Brett
just
being
Brett.
Brett.
Yeah.
I say funny stuff from my first year here to my second year. I think it was second game that I played in Tampa, which was the 01 season. So first game I played here. It was the last game of the season that year. We lost. I mean, we beat them, but they were in the playoffs. Right. But then we went down there, and that's when I found out. Obviously, I knew, but being in Florida is way hotter. Mid-season, I was like, this is the fix, man. Going down there mid-season in Tampa, and where it's 80, it's 60 up here, but it's a whole different 60.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're down there, and I saw it the first game here a little bit, but since the Buccaneers were already in the playoff, they weren't really aggressive. They were just kind of having fun. We're in the playoffs, we're just going to get through this game. But we get down there now, regular season, down in Tampa, and then so I hear 99 talking. So Mr. Sapp, he's just he's barking.
Of course.
He's barking at Brett, right?
Wouldn't be Sapp if it wasn't.
In between plays. And for me, trash talking to me is in one ear and out the other. I'm like, whatever. I've been playing, pickup games in the neighborhood. Guys trash talking.
I've heard all
They're trying to get you off the
Yeah.
game, off your shot.
Yep.
So I'm like, whatever. He tried to get me. He's like, came up to me. This is Warren. He's like, number 30, you're no fun. You're not even hearing me. I'm like, exactly. I know what you're doing.
It's by design, man.
But number 4, he's like a magnet. As soon as he started talking, he's getting in Warren's face. And like, Brett, like, dude, I'm grabbing him by the, get in the huddle. I'm like, you got to call the play.
piss
Oh,
this
man,
man
I'm
off.
just having fun, man. Like, don't let him get in your head.
Right,
dude.
right.
Go. And, of course, he get him every time.
Those
like,
two had some jaw jacking
Oh,
sessions. in real life.
the battles they had, it was interesting. I mean, I always hated it because I'm like, oh man, it's 99 again.
That was real.
Yeah.
It was real, Facebook.
Obviously, I always want to know, like, what they're gonna
It was
say in there. But
interesting.
so, and the last thing before we go to our break, so obviously you've had Brett in the huddle, you've had 12 in the huddle.
Yep.
What was that like, dynamic? I mean, locker room huddle, like, because that's a young Rodgers, right? This is like, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed Rodgers. He's just kind of getting the start. Like,
He was getting harassed.
yeah, I was gonna say, what's it like with Rodgers?
Oh, so when he first got there, it was, Brett probably, well, he had been 10 years when I came here. So that was 05. So like 16, year 16, 17, somewhere in there. And it's like, I remember mid-season, I was like, Brett, so I was like, so how's, Aaron in the meetings? Is he taking notes? He's like, man, he got his headphones on. He's listening. That's when the first generation iPod came out. And I think he had an orange. He had like a purple one or an orange. He's like, man, he's always listening. And he's not even talking to me. He's not talking to us. He's not trying to connect. And I'm like, okay,
all right,
get to know him,
Right,
man.
yeah, exactly. Go talk to him.
But he's like, it's old school, new school stuff.
Sure.
It was nothing bad. It was just funny to hear that. I'm like, man, we work for FedEx or something?
What's going on
This
here?
is hilarious. But no, they had a good connection. For what I saw, they were always doing something on the sidelines during practice, joking around with one another. But yeah, it was a good thing. I knew right away though. Like when we drafted, like I watched the draft every year when I was playing. Yeah. I still watch it now.
Yeah.
But I knew that draft when we drafted him, regardless of how far he fell. Yeah. Obviously in a player's opinion, once you get drafted, you get drafted. It don't matter. It's great. And I just knew maybe that then the chip on that shoulder for Aaron was going to be there because that was kind of what happened to me because I was at the advisory board in '98, definitely wasn't advising anything. They threw out there, they told me, okay, I might get drafted late first round, early second. I went third. 76 pick overall, which obviously is still a great thing.
Still good, right?
But it's not the first round.
Right, first, yeah.
Okay, so that stings a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So I could understand the chip that Aaron. So I'm like, ooh, he's gonna. I said we got a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
And people didn't understand it, and they were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, he went first round. People just see that, like, oh, that's still great. I'm like, but he was told where he was supposed to go.
He was supposed to go one on one.
I'm like, so that element. And that gets a guy fired up, because they got me fired up.
Yeah.
In my head, I had a hit list of all 32 teams.
I'm coming for you.
I'm coming for them. And Packers was on that list because they passed me over.
Right. Yeah.
At the time, So I had a hit list of 31 teams when I got drafted.
Right.
And I was like, okay. Every team I play is gonna feel me. That's why I said in my head before I got here.
You made a
so
play.
I knew. Thank you. I knew Aaron. Obviously, that was in his head, even though he was still 24th
But
pick.
you know the shoes he's in right now.
Exactly,
So,
first round. Yes, I know that experience.
So there, a lot has been said this year. A lot of articles, a lot of scrutiny, and a lot of critics and things about his leadership kind of values. And Brett Favre was kind of like he loved everybody. He went and smacked everybody's butt, and joked around with them.
Pour Gatorade on your head and practice.
Gatorade, exactly. And you didn't really see that all the time. I mean, with Rodgers right now, it's kind of like he'll photo bombs. He'll talk to a few guys. He'll do a little couple things with the receivers and stuff. But what was your take on his leadership, especially in that locker room and also on that field? Because obviously you can see it, and you said it right there. You said it. You were like, I see something in this. There's a diamond in the rough.
Yes.
And obviously in your mind, you're like, I'm a player. Like if this guy can play, he can play. After that, I'll get to know him if he wants to get to know me, kind of thing. What was it like for you?
So I was able to see, Aaron before he became a starter.
Yeah.
05, 06.
Sure.
And then when McCarthy came in, and then came back in 09 from my 2 years in Texas.
Yep.
So that part was cool. Then I'll see him now.
Progressed 3 years.
He progressed.
Yeah.
He's developed. He's developing.
Right.
Because 08 was 8-8.
Yeah.
For the Packers, and that was a learning process, and that was good. You want that as a player, and no matter what position, to have it as a quarterback is even better. So he gets here. So I come back 09, and I'll see him, like I said, starting, and I can see the change. The confidence better, and he's just now picking up things that quarterbacks pick up.
Right.
Reading defenses, knowing how to connect with the receivers to see what routes they're going to run pre-snap.
Sure.
And seeing that in practice, and that was good to see. So even then, I could say from other games I was here, I came in mid-season in October and finished out that season. Remember the crazy game we lost to the Cardinals? Playoff game, like 55-58 or something.
remember the face mask that didn't get
fumble
called, right?
that never got called.
Yeah.
And so after
that was
that,
so
right after that game, I was like, we're going to the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah.
I said that to myself at my locker sitting there. Everybody, head down. I'm like, keep your head up.
I don't have your credentials, but I said the same thing. So,
I said that to myself.
Like,
I don't know if anybody who was sitting next to me might have heard it, but I'm like, we're going to Super Bowl next year. And I just thought I would be on the team, but it didn't work out,
Right.
That's business.
They should have called you up once RG went down.
Man, we had RG was down. Starks was beat up as out of a rookie camp. Who else was there on the roster?
Brandon Jackson. I think he finished it out.
B-Jack.
He was out of
Nebraska.
Nebraska,
He's another
yeah,
Nebraska
yeah.
back. So.
So you didn't have a problem seeing him.
But yeah, it was that when I came back, I was like, oh, it's there. Now we just got to see what receivers he have around, which he did. He had Greg Jennings. He still had Donald.
He had
a couple other guys.
Young Jordy.
He had Young Jordy. He had Jermichael.
Finley,
so he had a
he
good
had a good
crew
squad.
of receivers and decent running backs, behind him and a good defense.
Yeah.
And I was like,
They had Seawood at that time. I think he was
Seawood
defensive
was
MVP that year.
Yep, he was doing his thing, and it was good to see. And he had a team behind him, just like Brett did, coming into his own, winning Super Bowls. Had that, had Reggie White, coming off the edge, and the rest of that defense that was stout,
Nasty.
For the Packers back in those times. So it was the same recipe now at that time. It was just going into the 2010 season.
Well, there you go, folks. I mean, that's you had it pre-starter and post-starter. Rodgers, and you got the source right here. So, and then just to kind of close things up. So then, you as a player with Green Bay, did you enjoy just the atmosphere every day, waking up, driving the streets, going to the grocery store? As a player, obviously it's different now as a family man, but as a player, what was your time here? Did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was, no matter where I played, it was Seattle or here and then Houston and back here, I was a football kid growing up. I was I was an athlete too. I played everything: football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, ran track. I power lifted. I did everything, and then obviously played video games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comic books later. But so being here was like it's an athlete's heaven because the crowd is tuned in to what you do.
Right.
And then by the time you're a pro, I say for me personally, I knew that how the media works and. You're the prince one day, and then you're the pheasant scapegoat the next. And that part didn't even bother me.
Yeah, sure.
It was something I learned when I was at Nebraska because we were there. We had stuff going on when I was a freshman, and I learned right away. Don't watch ESPN. Don't read the paper.
Yeah.
I
wish that was kind of the same thing nowadays. But now it's like what's on Twitter, what's on
Oh my God.
what's on their
couldn't
phone. They
even
can't go away from it.
I tasted a little bit of social media in my career. It's just like. It was new, so it wasn't as.
I'm sure it's still toxic though.
A little bit, not as toxic, not as it is now, because it was still new.
Okay, sure.
And
People were respectful when it was new.
Yeah, they didn't know what they could say and what was allowed.
And then the percentage of who were on there was higher than the percentage who was actually on there.
Okay.
The younger players were on there, and it was more older players that twit.
What's
that?
that?
It's a tweet. It's a twat. What is
What?
it?
Huh?
What is a book face? What it was that. So now it's the other way around. You got 100. You got probably like 90. I don't know what that percentage is, but I would say it's above 70% of the players that are actively, constantly on games, as we unfortunately found out with some people during locker room.
Are they checking their mentions all the time? Or are they would you?
I don't know.
I'd be afraid.
I coach high school football here at Freedom, and we tell our boys in the high school level, put the phones away. And I'm like, I can't believe we keep saying this.
I know, right? It shouldn't even be a problem.
Well, because the internet's forever.
If you post something, right. Well, I got kids too, so I know that. But just so I'm telling my players on my football team to put the phone away. Why do I even have to say that? I'm like that.
Put your phones away.
I had a phone when I was playing. I wasn't even thinking. That was the last thing on my mind. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna jump on Facebook and I'm gonna troll for a little bit.
That's a thing nowadays, unfortunately.
Right. I'm gonna see let me see new trailer for Avengers. No, I wasn't about to do
you
that.
like that trailer? Well, let me tell you why it's not cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, man, let me see Do Perfect. What they do now. I'm not about to do that.
Nope.
Well, it's great. Obviously everybody knows when you're in town because we know your vehicles around
Oh,
here,
the-
and everybody knows when Ironhide is kind of
Big
roaming
boy.
around. So it's obviously amazing to have you here. When we come back, we're gonna finish up a little bit more of the Packers, and then we're gonna get a little bit more fun with Ahman Green here.
Ooh,
And
I like
obviously
fun.
we're in a comic book store, so we're gonna talk some comics here and
Have
some
to.
more video games. So don't go anywhere. This is the Freezer Podcast. Stay with us.